Kirby again as we launch into the 6th episode of Zoo Crew Revue, where we will be reviewing the 5th issue of Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew, and pair it with the classic Looney Tunes short, Easter Yeggs. Let's get started with the cover, penciled by Scott Shaw and inked by Chad Grothkopf. Just when you thought it was safe to read funny animal books, we give you Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew. So I'm taking that as a nod to Jaws 2's Just When You Thought It Was Safe to Get Back Into the Water. So we are given a very dynamic cover as the zoo crew surround a gigantic Easter egg in terror with giant Easter Bunny Island heads in the background, as with the good captain saying, "That egg is cracking open, Rubber Duck. We're about to come face to face with the secret of Easter Bunny Island." And Ali Katabra seeing the menacing eye coming out of the Easter egg going, if it's got a face. And all along the bottom we have a banner proclaiming Rabbits of the Lost Ark, featuring Oklahoma Bones. And Whipley, believe it or not, the little snake on Oklahoma Bones' shoulder. So no points for guessing who this is a parody of, and honestly, that makes 2 Spielberg references on one cover now that I think about it, so that's pretty cool. As always, let's begin with our pertinent data, written by Roy Thomas, penciled by Scott Shaw, inked by Chad Grothkopf, lettered by Janice Chang, and colorist Thomas J. Zuko. Edited by Dave Manick, and this issue had a cover date of July 1982 and an on-sale date of April 29th, 1982. On our opening splash page, we are treated to some very expressive faces of the zoo crew along the side, as we have Roger, Felina, and other Denzians of New York looking in terror as a gigantic robotic owl comes down in the evening sky, with Roger Rabbit proclaiming, "Felina, look! Some kind of giant robot making a vertical landing in the middle of Broadway. Oh, great. For this, I had to spend hours getting into an evening gown?" As Chapter 1 proclaims, "When flies the fur." So Roger and Felina are both dressed up for the debut of Bird Rental's new movie, Smoke Eye and the Panda Part 12. Which, total side note, but in addition to the 3 theatrical Smokey and the Bandit movies, there are actually 4 made-for-TV sequels directed by the original director Hal Needham, and starring voice actor Brian Bloom as the Bandit. And before you ask, no, they are not good, but just seeing part 12 just made me go, this is a bit of trivia I want to share. As the animals flee in terror, Felina shouts to Roger, "Either that's some earth-shattering new menace, or else a publicity stunt." Publicity stunt? Who's got that kind of money in a recession? So probably definitely an commentary on the recession of the early 80s. And coming from the robot, the voice inside introduces himself as Dr. Hoot, and demands all of the money from the premiere, or else. Roger replying, why can't anybody nice ever invent a giant robot?" As Dr. Hoot starts causing terror, Roger and Felina take advantage of the commotion and duck into a nearby alleyway to change into their superhero attire, with Roger turning into Captain Carrot and completely destroying his tuxedo. "Well, at least I won't have to worry anymore about getting my rent-a-tux dirty. Maybe Burt Reynolds will pay for it after we save his premiere. Come on!" So in this one page, Roger and Felina are taking more care of their secret identity than in any modern-day superhero comic. Hopping into action, Captain Carrot quips, wondering where Rubber Duck is, as Felina warns that Dr. Hoot might have a trick up his sleeve. And just gotta say, on this page, Scott Shaw does a lot of really good background work, showing all of the animals fleeing in terror from the fight. So Dr. Hoot knocks Captain Carrot into an Acme egg beater billboard with one of his robotic magnetically powered fists, before just stomping around going, "Money, money, 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 money." So a deep villain Dr. Hoot is not. Felina, flying around the robot, wonders, where is the rest of the zoo crew anyway? They were supposed to meet us here by now. Calling Rubber Duck, Pig Iron, Fastback, and Yankee Poodle. In fact, calling anybody. Alley Cat Tabra's cry for aid reaches Fastback as he's taking a bath, talking to himself. "Good, still 5 more minutes till the picture show starts. Plenty of time to finish my little bath before I have to hightail it. Them car chase films always move a little slow for my animalways. So I gotta wonder what he thinks of Mad Max, Furry Road, or Baby Bird Driver. And he goes, ain't even no privacy in the bathtub no more. But if Alley-Cat says there's trouble, it's time Tim and Joe Terrapin did some ski-daddling as fast back. So inconvenience or not, he's a hero speeding off to the rescue. While at the same time, Pig Iron dressed quite dapperly in the subway and doing his best Peter Boyle impression by singing, "Putting on the Ritz." Without hesitation, responds to Alley-Cat call by completely destroying the subway car he's in and the road above so he can go and help her as well. Putting out the magical call has drained Alley-Cat and she begins plummeting to the ground. Can't even hold on to my wand or levitate any longer. Even if I land on my feet, they're not all that's going to be flat. But luckily, Fastback is able to do a flash save special by tornadoing her safely to the ground as Pig Iron arrives on the scene at the same time, proclaiming, "Now let's go get that metal-plated meatball." However, Dr. Hoot's robot proves to be more than a match for the 4 Zoo Crew who are actually there fighting it, Pig Iron immediately getting caught in its clutches, pounding fruitlessly, as Captain Carrot gets zapped again. After Pig Iron's been let go, Captain Carrot, catching his breath, says, "Keep back, Pig Iron! Something Abra said a minute ago! Fastback, can you follow my lead? Follow, heck! With my speed I can get out in front of it! In that case, let's go!" In trying to slug both of us, that robot sent its metal fist flying after us separately. They must be magnetically powered. That'll sure be a comfort to us, Captain, when they turn us into rabbit stew and turtle soup. They won't, if we double back, y'all mean? And the two are indeed quick enough as they have doubled back right into front of the robot's head and sending the metal fist clobbering it, destroying the robot, as they quickly leapt out just in time. Now with the robot defeated, Captain Carrot proclaims, "And another murderously macabre menace of metal bites the dust." Figuratively speaking. Yeah, we did it without Rubber Duck or Yankee Poodle. And I gotta say, as I'm rereading this series, Rubber Duck and Yankee Poodle really just are the weak links of the crew. Dr. Hoot comes out of the robot's shattered eye wearing a sweater that says "Bad Guy" right on it, again showing that he is not a deep fellow, all the while proclaiming himself to be a genius, master criminal, vowing revenge, blah blah blah, as he gets hauled off into the paddy wagon. Burt Reynolds and Rova Barker come out of the movie theater with Burt mad that no one else showed up, and Rova quipping, "What's a story though? Flick flops while flying fools fight felon. You print that, Rova, and you'll never get another scoop out of me. So why didn't you two show up to help out?" To which Alley-Cat says to Captain Carrot that the two egotists were so wrapped up in the movie that they didn't hear her magical cry for help, and the captain seriously starts thinking that maybe they should just be a team of 4 now, before an off-screen voice says right now they're going to need all the help they can get. The voice is revealed on the next page to be Oklahoma Bones, or Oklahoma Bones Jr., you mean, snipes Whipley the Snake. Pig Iron and Alley-Cat both thought he was older, while a still mad Bird and Rova change into their disguises. But Whipley clarifies, "Why, I served as a friend, a confidant, an occasional bullwhip to his father, and Junior here couldn't hold a camel to his dad." To which Oklahoma Bones Jr. can only say, "As you see, Zoo Crew, Whipley doesn't think much of me. Maybe he's right, but I still need you guys, and maybe the world does too." "The world, huh? You sound like a man with a problem. What's up?" "As you know, my dad was a great archaeologist hero, but I didn't inherit his adventuring ability." Captain Carrot and Okie talk back and forth while Pig Iron is starting to get hungry, laying the groundwork for the back third of this issue. Oklahoma Bones leads the Zoo Crew to his museum saying, "I inherited Whipley in my dad's clothes, so I could dress like him and become director of this museum. If you'll step inside, I'll show you why I came hunting you. I wanted to show you this journal. It was written by my father years ago, but I only stumbled onto it tonight. So, between being clarified as Junior and the father's journal, this issue beats Last Crusade to the punch by 7 years. So, good call on Thomas and Shaw's part there. The breaks in this issue do work really well to tie in with the serial adventure reels that inspired Indiana Jones, with the second chapter being titled Rabbits of the Last Ark. Oki tells the Zoo Crew, "What matters is this journal which tells of my dad's last great adventure, which occurred just before the Second Weird War." The big one, as they call it, eh? A bit before my time, naturally. I guess your mother told you about it, Alicattabra, the same as mine did. Actually, in my case, Yankee Poodle, it was my grandmother. But then, of course, I am a bit younger than you are. Good petty snipe by Alicattabra there. Also, I don't know if I really want to know what the Second Weird War entailed. That's just a bunch of questions I don't know if I really want answered. Oki starts talking more about his dad. Most people know only about his quest for the lost aardvark, which made him so famous he even started appearing on the lecture circuit. But at heart, he was a prairie dog of action. Okay, so between Rabbits of the Last Ark and the Lost Aardvark, it feels like Thomas had two different puns in his head and couldn't decide which to use, and just used both, which seems a little confusing to me. So in the flashback, Oklahoma Bones is giving a lecture as his female students make goo-goo eyes at him like Harrison Ford in the first movie, before two government types come in. And as Oki relates, they told Dad about the mysterious Easter Bunny Island, and how the evil Ratsies had suddenly become interested in it. But no one knew why, any more than they knew the secret of the giant stone rabbit heads planted there. They appealed to Dad's patriotism. Everyone knew we'd soon be at war with Adolf Hippo's Ratsie Vermini, and if the Ratsies knew something we didn't. Okay, so Hippo, Ratsies, Vermini, I feel like Thomas probably should have stuck the theming a little better with that pun there. Regardless, Oklahoma Bones agrees to the adventure, so he and Whipley come flying into Easter Bunny Island, where the Ratsies have enslaved the native population. Oklahoma Bones saying, "Galloping guano! That's a Ratsie plane coming at us. Those guys really are hot on this island, aren't they? They've even had the natives dig up all the stone heads, till only one's left standing. I wonder why." And folks, just for reference, Oklahoma Bones Senior and Junior are just going to be the same bad impression, because it's already doing a number on my vocal cords, and you already have a pretty good idea of what my range is, so just be kind. Shot out of the sky by the Ratsie pilot, Oklahoma Bones parachutes onto the beach, where the Ratsie commander shouts, "Achtung, mine little island munchkins! Capture the invader from the United Species!" And Oklahoma Bones has to defend himself against the natives, and I gotta say, I've read some Carl Barks Scrooge McDuck comics, and the natives here are not the worst I've ever seen. It's not great, but it's not the worst either. And in defending himself, there is a 1, 2, 3 numbered panel layout, which I think is a reference to something, but I am not 100% sure, so if anyone knows, please let me know. Unfortunately, Bones becomes surrounded by the Ratsies. Oklahoma Bones surrenders to nobody. "Dumpfkopf, you are dealing with Baron von Verman? We Ratsies represent the new order in the world? It may be new, but it sure ain't good." "Silence! I should have you shot for that remark, however." I just love these howevers. "However, since you have doubtlessly come to spy on us, and learned why we are on the island, I will tell you, for you will never tell anyone else." You mean, "Ja, we will make you sign an anti-leak oath." Now, as I was saying, always the villain's downfall, telling the hero about their plans before they're killed. And in the exposition, within the exposition, we go from Indiana Jones right into Jack Rabbit Kirby, as Von Verman explains that the Ratsies suspected of a secret to the Easter Bunny Island heads as they turned one over and then another, learning of a far-off and ancient alien race with technology far beyond those of Earthsea. The aliens looking like giant purple rabbits. The alien rabbit children had then shown their parents of an even alien or Easter eggs that had landed on their planet, and when they cracked open the Easter eggs, they were terrified to what they had found. And Shaw does a really good job of blending in the Kirby riff to the art and is able to make the alien rabbits for all of 2 pages look distinct and very expressionistic. Von Verman states that they don't know what was in the eggs yet, as that answer will be beneath the last unchurned head, but that whatever it was evil and horrifying. The alien rabbits had to get rid of the eggs, though, which could not be destroyed for reasons? And the lone surviving alien rabbit crashed onto Earthsea and mind controlled the native population of the island to bury the eggs and cover them with the stone heads made in his image to keep everyone else away. The alien rabbit cocooned himself and waited for another ship to pick him up. This will be important for the next issue. And of course, as the millennia wore on, everyone forgot about the Easter eggs and whom the giant stone heads were modeled after. So as Von Verman finishes his story, Whipley snakes himself around Von Verman, telling him, "You're all through giving orders around here, ain't he, Okie?" "I do believe he is, Whipley, but he's got some friends who aren't through trying." And as some ratsies come up to Oklahoma Bones with their pistols, he quickly disarms them and starts blasting the villainous and cowardly scum until they were either dead or fled the island with the cocooned rabbit as their only souvenir. "If they want it, they can have it. I guess they must have shipped all the eggs back home to Verminy already." Oki says how the natives were thankful for his father for freeing them and volunteered to overturn the last head and take the egg. Oklahoma Bones recorded all of the weird markings in his journal that he couldn't read and knows that he can prevent the last egg from hatching before he rafts off, only to be saved by the U.S. Navy. So Oki finishes by saying that the adventure had exhausted his father so much that he had forgotten all about it within a week, but made sure to write it all down in his journal first. And so ends the second exposition heavy chapter of this issue, with chapter 3 being titled "The Yolks on New York." Oki tells the zoo crew that a few days ago the Easter egg started to suddenly glow, and that is when he stumbled upon the journal. Captain Carrot says, "If only we could translate that message from the space rabbits." To which Pig Iron, knowing that translating it will take hours, if ever, and goes off to make a sandwich, and he's posed in the exact same manner as one of his Neanderthalic ancestors' skeletons in the background.
"Maybe I'm made out of metal and all, but that just means I can eat just about anything. Even those dinosaur bones are starting to look good to me."
So Pig Iron is definitely following the Fred Flintstone diet.
"But I just spotted something that looks a whole lot better. Namely in the kitchen."
Looking in the museum's fridge, he feels like having an egg and saying,
"Seems to me Oki Jr. was saying something about an egg, but I'm so hungry I forget just what. And he probably won't even notice it's gone."
Despite the fact that this is very clearly an Easter egg, and it's like, okay, do we just need to start the third act by Pig Iron acting like a complete idiot? Putting the Easter egg on an egg holder,
"I'll just crack her open with my little purple pinky and, huh? It's starting to glow. Oh yeah. Now I remember, this must be the egg Oki's pop left him. Sure does shake a lot, and it's too late to try putting it back together again. So one omelet coming up."
And do most museum offices just have a fully working kitchen like this? Because I gotta imagine most of them are just like any office building where it's a sink and a fridge, and that's pretty much it. As Pig Iron is frying the egg, he sees the yolk starting to jiggle, almost as if it was alive, before it leaps from the frying pan and right into his face. On the next page, as Pig Iron is fighting with the growing yolk in the kitchen, we cut to the rest of the zoo crew translating the page and comically showing that Pig Iron is doing just about everything wrong that you could do. With Captain Carrot saying, "I give up! This coded message copied from the Space Rabbits' language is impossible to crack!" And Yankee Poodle pop in, "Let me see that. I've had lots of practice reading other people's diaries." "Why, This is almost identical to the goddess snake code I cracked in 73. It is definitely a warning not to break the eggshell, or else. The yolk bursts free from the fridge that Pig Iron had shoved it back into as the rest of the zoo crew come running in to see what's the commotion. Pig Iron sheepishly admits to what he had done, and Fastback noting, "And look, y'all, it must have sucked every bit of water out of all the food in the icebox." He's right, everything's been dehydrated. To which Whipley can only snidely remark to Okie, "These guys are your friends, Junior, just remember that." Where'd the egg yolk go, Pig Iron?
Near as I could tell, it must have jumped out of this window.
Great guppies, then it's headed toward New York Harbor and the ocean.
Oh, come on. You don't mean it's gonna drink the whole blamed ocean dry, do ya?
As the zoo crew leaves, Captain Carrot tells Okie, "Sorry, Okie Jr., but you've done enough already. Just keeping that egg where anyone who opened the refrigerator door could unleash a threat to all life on Earth. Maybe Whipley's right, and you should stick to putting band-aids on mummies. But, you know, I always did like that captain guy." The zoo crew is looking all through New York for the yolk, from busted fire hydrants to milk trucks to even fish bowls before Captain Carrot yells, "Hey! Seems my 24-karat vision's paying off after all, group! Look! There's the egg yolk atop that water tower not far from the harbor! But it's already 1,000 times larger than it was just a few minutes ago!" The zoo crew leap into action, posing similarly to when they fought Star in the first issue. And while they do notice the similarities, I gotta say it's a little bit of a letdown, just kind of like most sequels. We are treated to a fun shot of Pig Iron imagining what would happen if the yolk were able to destroy the world. Sunny side up, of course. Meanwhile, Fastback yells, "Shoot a mile! I'm stuck in this goo like a muskrat in molasses. I got water in me, too. And this overgrown almost gonna try to get to me, even if it means turning me into turtle soup." Which makes this the second turtle soup reference in this issue alone. But I suppose I would have to count the number of times the Shredder has threatened the same thing to the Ninja Turtles before I really complain about this. Only to be quickly saved by Okie and Whipley, now leaving all of them wondering how they are going to be able to beat this protein portent of peril. Captain Carrot gets an idea, telling the zoo crew they're going to fry the yolk up by Yankee Poodle keeping the yolk in place with her animal magnetism powers, while Fastback zooms around him, heating the street up with his high-speed friction, while Captain Carrot himself hops to find the billboard egg beater from the beginning of this issue, and then hops back to beat the menace. Quite literally. To which Pig Iron can only bemoan,
"Yuck, I was gonna eat that? My brains must have been scrambled. Oh, my poor tummy. I guess I shouldn't have said scrambled."
And while the zoo crew is quite pleased with having saved the day, Okie warns them that the Ratsies had already stolen an untold number of these similar alien Easter eggs. And we finish the issue with a little epilogue showing President Mallard Fillmore hosting an Easter egg hunt on the White Doghouse lawn. I suppose this is to celebrate Jesus? To which he tells the crowd,
"Oh, don't let the sight of the secret serpents scare you, children. They're just here to protect me. And Senor Von Verman, the ambassador from San Salvador, who has donated everything necessary for today's event."
"Jawohl! Si, Senor Presidente. It was my pleasure, I assure you." So even on Earth C, those damned Ratsies were able to flee from their war crimes. Ugh. And of course, all of those donated Easter eggs are glowing menacingly as the last panel advertises, "Our exasperating epic continues as the zoo crew come face to face with the bunny from beyond." So I really thought this issue was pretty choppy from a storytelling standpoint, with the first part being almost completely unrelated, like a bad Simpsons episode, but it was a step up from last issue, as I was greatly entertained throughout. The humor worked way better for me. The art was fun, and Roy Thomas and Scott Shaw doing an Indiana Jones riff was a blast. So even if the second chapter was a lot of backstory, which I greatly summarized more than acted out. It is kind of necessary for the next issue. In the end, a fun blend of superheroics, Kirby science fiction, and adventure serials. And with that, let's get on to our Looney Tunes pairing. So I felt I had a couple of options to go along with this issue. I decided to skip the first Marvin the Martian short so I can talk more about him when I inevitably do Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. And to tie into Oklahoma Bones fighting Ratsies, I rewatched Hair Meets Hair, where Bugs Bunny fights Herman Goering. And while definitely funny and great to see Bugs Bunny wallop Goering and Hitler in the end of the short, I felt it had a little too much sag and I didn't want another Super Rabbit situation. And in the end, after rewatching Easter Yeggs, it just made me laugh more. Easter Yeggs was originally released on June 28, 1947, directed by Robert McKinson, story by Warren Foster, produced by Ed Seltzer, starring Mel Blanc and Arthur Q. Bryan, with music by Carl Stalling, animation by Charles McKimson, Richard Bickenbach, I. Ellis, and Anatol Kirzanov, layouts by Cornette Wood, and backgrounds by Richard H. Thomas. Now, before rewatching it, all I really remembered was the Sad Sack Easter Bunny and the little brat Bugs delivered Easter eggs to the point where I had forgotten Elmer Fudd was actually in this short. And that was honestly one of the tipping points, as I realized I had not yet talked about Bugs' most iconic antagonist yet. So Elmer Fudd was one of the few recurring Looney Tunes cartoons not voiced by Mel Blanc. As I said, he was voiced by Arthur Q. Bryan in all of his appearances except his last short where he was voiced by Otis from The Andy Griffith Show. And Fudd usually comes in one of two roles. He's either the hunter or the everyman. And here in Easter Eggs, he plays a bit of both, where he's the hunter in everyman's clothing. Robert McKinson, I think, is one of the Looney Tunes directors that gets overlooked. Typically seen as more of a workman's director, but I think he does really produce good work. Most interestingly, I think his work has more of an angrier temperament than a lot of his contemporaries. Characters in general are scowling a lot more and just have more of an edge. Like, his Bugs Bunny is noticeably more rat-faced in this short and in others. Also, whenever McKinson is directing, you will notice a lot more specific forearm and hand acting for comedic effect. And once you notice it, you will never not notice it. The short opens with Bugs just laying in the woods reading a book about how to multiply. So, good little dirty joke there. He then hears the crying Easter rabbit begging for Bugs to fill in for him. One of his instructions to Bugs is, remember, keep smiling. So this line and the characterization of the Easter rabbit is apparently a reference to Mel Blanc's work on the Burns and Allen radio show, specifically The Happy Postman. But if you ever get the chance to find Mel Blanc's starring radio show, I highly recommend it, because you can just close your eyes and go, that's Porky's voice, that's Sylvester's voice, etc. After Bugs agrees and leaves, this conning ass, sad sack Easter rabbit turns to the camera and says he pulls this scam every year. Bugs sings happily to himself, I am the Easter rabbit, hooray! Before entering in a dilapidated dead-end house to make his first delivery. The baby in the middle of the room, lying in an apple cart, is sucking on a revolver, which when rewatching it for the first time made me yell out, Jesus fucking Christ! And Bugs tries to give the baby an egg, but the little brat quickly smashes it, demanding an Easter egg. And in the end, he and Bugs get into a little scuffle. And after the brat is done beating on Bugs, and Bugs then grabs his arm, the brat screams that he is getting beat up, bringing in his gun-toting thug family. Which, in all honesty, is what I remember this whole short being about, of like Bugs trying to give this baby an egg again and again. And after Bugs is shot out of the house, he quickly returns to the Easter Rabbit, who cons him to try again. Bugs sings the Easter Rabbit song much more angrily this time as he comes up on a house with multiple signs to invite the Easter Rabbit in. Revealed to be Elmer Fudd's house, he can't wait for the Easter Rabbit, whom he does not know as Bugs, to just come in so he can shoot him and make rabbit stew. This is what I was talking about with the angrier McKinson energy, because this is just evil for Elmer Fudd. He just wants to take this beloved holiday icon, eat them and just ruin the holiday for everyone else. And he has particular forearm action, as I was talking about earlier. Fudd quickly hides with his shotgun in a bassinet, but Bugs, seeing another baby, tries to get one up on him by placing the Easter egg in his hands and then smashing it, which quickly pisses off Elmer Fudd, and the chase begins. Elmer runs ahead of Bugs, digging a trap for him to fall into and then drown him, but Bugs comes out of the flooded hole on a raft, which Elmer then leaps into to try and grab him. The running water then leads the raft through a hollowed out tree labeled Tunnel of Love, and this is not the most sexual energy Bugs and Elmer have had, and let's just say that. So, after getting out of the raft, Bugs tries to befuddle Elmer by trying a magic trick with his watch, smashing it into a handkerchief, and then placing it into a hat. A lot of fast-talking Bugs going on here with some really good eye work as Bugs looks into the hat and up at Elmer a couple of times, realizing that he has screwed up the magic trick, which makes Elmer even angrier than before. As Bugs is fleeing, that damned Easter rabbit pulls a rope up in the middle of the road for Bugs to run into, quickly disorienting him, and points Bugs in the direction of some more houses. So Elmer is in the first two, then the brat from before, and then Elmer again in the fourth house, where Bugs crashes at the door onto his head. Quickly painting Elmer's bald head to look like an Easter egg, Bugs calls for the brat, and the brat quickly starts bashing Elmer's head in with a ball-peen hammer, clamoring, "I want an Easter egg! I want an Easter egg!" as the two run off. And Bugs didn't forget who caused him all this trouble in the first place, so he planted a bomb disguised as a forgotten Easter egg. The Easter rabbit sees the egg and bemoans that if you want something right, you gotta do it yourself. The bomb then explodes, causing the Easter rabbit to be up in a tree, and the short ends with Bugs just laughing at the Easter rabbit and telling him, "Remember, keep smiling." So, Bugs beat two villains for the price of one in this short. And while this may not be a top 10 short, it was very funny, a good showcasing of McKinson as a director, and well worth your time to watch, especially around Easter. So I got nothing left to say, but that's all, folks!